Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Cashemotional titled Te Engañe. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen on Music Beat. This is the art for Te Engañe, which as I understand it, and what is the translation here? It is to like, I tricked you or I fooled you or I cheated you or something like that. So without further ado, we're going to listen through this track from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Very lo-fi aesthetic with the synths and vocal parts.
Que me dañaste, que te crees solo fuiste una de mis amantes. El Gucci, el Louis, el Fendi cubierto en diamante. No se puede extrañarte, y si quieres quedarte, aquí estoy para dártelo, pero no para quedarme, no. Hoy salgo a beber y a ver con quién amanezco ya. Te lo hice antier por última vez, que por ti ya no siento nada. Hoy salgo en la Tesla que te invitaba pa' coger. Ahora me encontré con otra bebé, que por ti ya no siento nada.
There's so much going on that I really appreciate with the trap beats on the percussion, the variety of different vocal takes and the different registers there, the bass being nice and tight as it is with the 808s, sub-layer keys. You could hear a little clock there as well ticking away.
Cuando no sé si cómo te sientes, como yo cuando estaba presente. Por tus malitos más como 80, escribo y escribo diferente. De lo que te decía la gente, diciéndote que ellos te mienten. Pero el que te mentía lo tenías enfrente. Yeah. Hoy salgo a beber y a ver con quién amanezco ya. Te lo hice antier por última vez, que por ti ya no siento nada. Hoy salgo en la Tesla que te invitaba pa' coger. Ahora me encontré con otra bebé, que por ti ya no siento nada. Te pones.
Okay, so verse, chorus, structure, of course, verse.
Y las llamadas en la mañana, que tanto te hablé. Que tanto hablé. Que tanto te engañé. Si te pones a pensar, verás que la verdad no te adora. Ni las llamadas en la mañana, que tanto te hablé. Que tanto hablé. Que tanto te engañé.
Okay, so before we go any further, just in the conclusion section, my Spanish is very, very rusty. So I understood little tiny bits of it and I understood words, but I don't think I quite got the whole gist of it. But welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Cashemotional titled Te Engañe, or I fooled you, I tricked you, I cheated on you, etc. Now, I don't know exactly what this track is about because I'm not super familiar with the language and it's been a long, long time since I was anywhere near competent with understanding Spanish. I suppose if we take it from the way that the story is being told, I assume, like I heard like something about like talking to them or something like that, and like something about like never again or nothing or anything like that. I'm wondering if it's about the fact that we might have cheated on a person and we realized we either can't fix it or maybe we'd do anything to get back with them. I'm not sure. It's too ambiguous for me. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments if you understand the language natively. But either way, I think that when I listened to the vocals, the way they were done, I think that we rapped really well. The melodies and the clean parts of the hook were sensational as well. I appreciated the harmonies that we had. They were stellar. All around really comfortable with the triplet flow on the bars. And yeah, we rapped and sang well. We had a bit of a fixed modulation on our voice there to sort of smooth things out a little bit. But it's for the type of music that we're doing, that's, it's totally fine. Absolutely no issues there. And ultimately, yeah, I think it was par on course for the genre. It was commercial grade sounding, very comfortable, polished, and it wasn't overproduced either. Like, there was quite a bit of a focus on the vocals for the most part. but we did allow space for the theme as well and backing occasionally, and I think it was really good to sort of flesh it out like that. The track at 2 minutes 30 is nice and short, like it's 2 minutes 26, and there was no filler. We had verses and we had hook lines there. We had occasions where it was more sort of focused on maybe the synth and maybe like modded guitar parts there. Without the kicks and snares being there or without the bass being there, it was nice to just have a bit of like space for things to float. We had a similar chord progression throughout the entire thing, but it was represented differently with the lack, again, of the aforementioned percussion and such like that. I think in a track of this length, it's enough. I think if you tried to have too many chord progressions within this track, or if you tried to have too much variety, it would have maybe overwhelmed or over sort of it may have seemed like I was trying to overcompensate for what was happening in the vocals there. We were comfortable in the motif there. There was complexity to the arrangements and harmonies, which we'll talk about later with the theme section. But effectively, it did sound like we were mourning something, going through something, struggling with it. And there was some sort of ad-libs and overdubs of the vocals as well, which sounded like we were crying out. And I liked the fact that it was so misty with the tones there. But if I discuss a few of the instruments that I really appreciated, I think that the percussion, for one, was sensational. We weren't doing anything particularly revolutionary with the way we were constructing the beats with the 8s, 16ths, and occasional triplet runs, but it was how well they segged in with everything else, and the fact that we knew when to sort of step away with the percussion as opposed to keeping it in there. It had a great pulse and presence within the track, instituted a familiar vibe to people who are fans of the genre and the style, and ultimately it didn't overstep the mark or overstep the boundaries there. The bass, nice and reasonable in the low end there, very well behaved with the tones of the chord progressions and the root notes, and never overstaying its welcome. The synth lines that we had with some pads and modulated parts were charming. I mean, they were very somber sounding. They sounded like sad, and we had interesting sort of like murmuring oscillations there, like the thoughts going through our heads there. It was very expressive. And I think that we explored the range of those instruments well. I think if they'd been brighter, they might have interfered with the clarity of the vocals in the upper register, so I'm glad we had that. And the sub-layer keys that we had occasionally fleshing out the right hand as a bit of mid to high range resonance was sweet as well. We didn't overdo things with like a solo or anything like that. It was more of kind of a way of fleshing out the triads and allowing us to really sort of appreciate and sit with the tunes we'd created, and make it so that it was a bigger sound without making everything the same respective loudness. The track itself, with the theme, with that in mind, it seemed like we were apologizing. The track sounded like we regretted what we had done, and even though I don't know what the story was about, I do wonder whether the way the song sounded represents that, because if, regardless of whether or not I could understand the lyrics, the song is communicating that sort of vibe and aesthetic, I still personally feel as though the song has succeeded. There's lots of music that I listen to from all sorts of places around the world. Like, I've reviewed music from like 40 to 50 countries, right? I think that music is universal, and that the meaning of something can transcend boundaries if everything is articulated well enough. And I think we had that situation here. And again, we didn't try to overcompensate for like the lack of diversity with the chord progressions and anything like that by doing anything else elsewhere. It was a really well collected and connected take there, exploring sort of triads with occasional bits of essence within extra notes forming extensions in the harmonies. And overall, I think it was satisfying to listen to, reflected the emotional performance of the vocals well, and I don't think there's a note out of place. Finally, the studio recording, mixing and mastering was well handled. I'm very, very satisfied with the way that the vocals sounded, the way things were produced, the effects added to things, the way that we had the keys, piano, bass, and drums sitting both in the frequency spectrum with no resonant frequencies there, as well as in the stereo field, with it being nice and wide and the instruments surrounding you instantly. There was a lot of dynamic range to this as well, which I really appreciate. Things did come down occasionally, and you just sat there and just heard the singer and the vocalist out, and then boom, you were back into that main sort of groove there in a pace in a way that wasn't too abrupt or sort of visceral. Even though there was effects on the vocals, they didn't cover any weakness within the take. They're a great performer, and I'm very satisfied with the way they articulated themselves. And, finally, it's just, the limiting loudness. So, like, the nice and loud with that pumping, so the bus compression limiting was handled. I mean, effectively, this is a phenomenal first impressions for me. For Cashemotional with their track, Te Engañe, or, you know, I Fooled You, I Cheated You, translated, etc. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go check out their various social medias, and I think this will be on all digital streaming platforms at some stage. It's definitely on Spotify, and stay cool. At least, no, just to correct myself here, I think Cashemotional, this is an upcoming release, so they've got lots of other music on Spotify if you want to check that out. Stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, if they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.